Whatever you see.
Yeah, the Chrome extension.
Yeah, it's all weird.
It's different.
And it wasn't on, I wasn't on like Zoom that long ago. So I wasn't that long ago. So this is our first, Brian, you are our first guest speaker. And
yes.
this is like, yeah, and we start with the best. Of course we start with the best. So I know Juliana is like traveling, so she will jump on later whenever she can. Her network is intermittent. So maybe like just before you start delivering whatever you're going to deliver, Brian, let's just, you both know me, so I'm not going to introduce myself. I'm the host of the reflective space. I'm the creator of the reflective space. But who would like to go first to just say a few things about themselves?
I will.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Farida. As you can see, I'm what can I tell you? What do I want to tell you? That's the thing. I'm a certified NLP practitioner. So I'm a coach, hypnotherapist. My background, and I was saying to Taniya last week, and we spoke about it in depth, is 28 years of NHS service. So that's my background in the hospital kind of environment, in leadership and management. And I gave up my career because I was totally burnt out and it wasn't aligning with me, my values, my beliefs anymore. And it was a bit of a transition. It was about 3 years in the kind of decision making. But I took that leap of faith and I have not looked back. And just to say, when I left the NHS and it was my last day, I felt like I was walking towards a light and everything was burning at the back. And that's when I knew that I'd done absolutely the right thing. I didn't know what I was heading into. That didn't matter. It's what I was just like what I was leaving behind. So yeah, that's me in like a little bit of me.
How long ago was that, Farida?
That was in December 2020.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, not long ago. Not long ago.
A little while.
Yeah.
I love that leap in the net will appear. You knew that was the right move for you, and even though you didn't know what was next, you made it because it was right.
It was right decision, and it was a curiosity that actually led to excitement rather than the fear of the unknown. I'm more of a curious person. So if somebody says to me, Farida, and I've said it to Taniya before, and she'll be nodding her head, that if somebody says to me, Farida, I think you should be going that way. That's what I think you should be doing. Farida always goes the other way. Because I like to see what's on the other side, because I'm not going to trust that other person to tell me to go that way. I'll go that way if I want to, and that way if I want to. I might even go straight if I want to. But that's the kind of person I am. I'm just very the curiosity always excites me, and I was like that.
Yeah, having that sense of wonder, right? Like children, right? You're just fascinated by the way, anything that you pay deep attention to, right? It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like, if I do this, this, and this, what's going to happen? What's it going to look like? What am I going to end up with? What am I going to be? What's in it for me? And like I said, I was like that in the NHS, but obviously a lot of me didn't align with the NHS corporate values. And that was absolutely fine, because I had a very, very successful career and I made a lot of changes in the NHS in my position as to where I was. So I'm really grateful and I'm really thankful that I've had that career, because I've had, several people say, oh, I bet you're glad you left the NHS. I went, I'm not glad, I'm happy I made that decision. Yeah. But it's a very successful career.
So, how long were you in the National Health Service?
28 years. I was 28 years in the NHS, and sort of the corporate leadership management was the last 9 years.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So Brian, would you like to say a few things about yourself before you deliver? Because I know you're delivering something spectacular.
Well, it'll be whatever it is. And since Farida's here, it's going to have a lot to do with what she has to say, because we have multiple pathways we could take. So that's always fun. If it's a group of people, I don't ask anything. I just do it. So, but one thing I wanted to say about Farida's experience that I can relate to, one, curiosity. I find that's just a helpful attitude, right? Like, let's see what happens is great. It's my favorite attitude, right? Because we don't know, do we? And even if we think we know, it's called disappointment if we don't have curiosity, right? But if we're just curious, that's very helpful. And in the world we live in, that's changing faster and faster, that's just a great attitude, because, you show how foolish you are if you think you know it all, right? As soon as you automatically think you know it all, it's like God or some force is going to say, nah, you don't. So, but how I can relate to that, in my 20s, I had a 4.0 in college, and then started a business, made $2 million in 20 months. Every time I had like success, I would say, well, I could start over from nothing and do it again, right? From scratch. And I did that several times, so many times that, like, okay, I don't need to prove that anymore, right? So I'm reminded of that Bible story, right? Like Lot, when they're leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, they say, don't look back. And when Israel left Egypt, right? As soon as they get out of slavery, they start complaining. Like, oh, you're just going to give us the same manna. Food's falling from the sky, and all of a sudden they complain, right? Really fast.
That story about Lot.
But the message is
looking back. That's so like profound, because there's so many different interpretations, but that was like looking back in, I don't know, like bitterness, toxicity. Looking back, sometimes it just kind of keeps us stuck, doesn't it, in the past? Can you hear me? Have I frozen?
No,
Brian's frozen.
Brian's frozen.
Okay. I think Brian's probably frozen. Did you hear that, what I said there, Farida?
Yes.
Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
This is the power of Zoom. We get frozen all of a sudden. A little bit like a little bit like Lot's wife. Brian left the. Okay, I think.
Oh, he's coming back.
We got 2 Brians. Have we got Juliana in the room? No, we've got 2 Brians. We've got 2 Brians.
He's probably.
Brian, can you hear us?
Got 2.
Like me last week, there was 2 Taniyas. It was my doppelganger.
As long as you don't double Taniya, we're all right.
It was my doppelganger. I didn't like her. Can't impersonate me.
Sorry, wonky internet. I have a backup plan though,
okay.
So I'm on my backup.
That's all right.
But you're smiling and laughing,
that's a really
so it's
profound story, though, isn't it? About Lot's wife turning back. There's just so much depth to that particular story, and I think when Farida was talking, all I remember is there's a bit of a rebelliousness to you, which I can really also relate to, Farida, because I think as entrepreneurs, we are kind of making up the rules. We don't like rules, and that creativity that I always had within me, I've kind of felt like I've had an outlet with that via entrepreneurship and creating offers and seeing what works, and it's something that I felt like was really trapped, just doing a social work job. But I love doing my social work job, but that was really trapped. So there was, when you were describing your story, there was a sentence that I could really, I don't know if you've ever read the book by M. Scott Peck. He's a famous Christian writer. It's a very famous book. It's called The Road Less Traveled. Have you read that book, Farida?
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
Right. So he passed away, I think in the early 2000s. So I read majority of his books. So he wrote. Have you ever read that book, Brian, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott
No,
Peck?
I haven't. I'm trying to think of the name. I've read one of his books, but I can't remember the title right now.
So, I read it in my early 20s, I think just after I'd got married. I think I was about 26, 27 when I read it. So I read The Road Less Traveled, Further Along the Road Less Traveled, Road Less Traveled and Beyond. I read majority of his books. And when you were kind of describing your story, that phrase came to my mind, that you were actually, descending on a path that you just didn't know where it was going to lead to. And that, I think that's sometimes how entrepreneurship feels. Would you say that's right, Brian? If that's how entrepreneurship feels at times?
One of my favorite song lyrics describes it. If there's a new way, I'll be the first in line, but it better work this time. So, but the reason why I bring up Lot, and hey, all the Bible stories, they're parables, like we're Lot at certain points in our journey, right? When you come to this, hey, the past is no longer an option and you have to move forward. And that's why it says, don't look back. So for me, I've personally just understood that, hey, I made the decision that I made at the time. Whether it's right or wrong has nothing to do with it. It's the best I could do with what I knew. So there's no reason to look back. And that critical decisions, I've had people who were like really attached, like when I left a certain job, before I went back to college, the boss is like, oh, you'd be really good here. If you ever want to come back. A lot of people have sat where you sit and they left and they wanted to come back. I said, well, that's not me. Like, I never looked back because I knew that was right for me. So I admire that, Farida. And yeah, like doubting yourself after you make a decision is, it's like mixed energy, right? Like rather than just pointing in one direction and going there, you're like wavering and you're lost.
The beauty of it was nothing influenced my decision, nothing or no one. When I made my decision and my family were like, are you sure? Why do you want to give your, career up? Why do you want to kind of, your paycheck at the end of the month? Why? Why do you want to do that for? So why not? Have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Yeah. Are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah.
Hey, what's right is right, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I admire that. And that is a trait of an entrepreneur, as Taniya was saying, is an employee is waiting for the boss to tell them what to do. An entrepreneur wakes up and says, okay, what am I doing? Like it's up to us to determine that. So certain types of people, it's good if they join the army. They need to get orders, right? Like there's people who like that. That's never been me, so entrepreneur is good. I equate it with leadership. If you don't want to be a leader, or like, you got to be a leader to be an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. It really comes down to leadership. And what a lot of people don't understand about leaders is they think the leader is the boss pointing the finger that doesn't do anything. No, the leader's there cleaning the toilet before everyone gets to the meeting, if they have to, right? Like they're showing up when nobody shows up and they're preparing, and that's what it takes, I think.
In Arabic, the word for a leader is imam. Okay.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Imam actually means to lead by example. It's not just, it means to lead by example. So obviously there's the imam that leads the prayer. So you lead by example. So it's really important to not just lead, you have to lead by example. So just kind of as you were like talking, it like kind of, yeah, the leaders are the first to kind of, you know, get down and having to do what nobody else wants to do, and that shows the way for other people.
You should be one of the best of what you got to demonstrate what, you know, like as a leader, you demonstrate what a good follower should do, right? That's what leadership is, right? Be the best follower of the mission. You know, so the imam, right? He's got to pray the 5 times a day, right? He's got to observe it all properly, wholeheartedly, right? Or else you get into imposter syndrome, right? Because you are an imposter at that point. You're preaching, you're not taking your own medicine, right? So anyway, let's be more constructive here. We all know, you know, what's wrong, but I like to talk about what's right, what's good, what can we do? So, so I just want to ask you, Farida, because we have options to go in here. So, I'll just share what I do and then ask you a question, and then we can actually go in your direction. So, what I help people do is, well, it's related to marketing, right? So we help people attract a bigger audience. That's the primary thing that I help people do. And to use your audience to get a bigger audience, right? So I'm focused more not on building the funnel. It's like, what's your relationship with people that are going through the funnel? The relationship with people going into it and coming out of it. So it's relationships, right? Forming relationships with potential clients and peers, and like using your audience to attract a bigger audience. So that's my jam. So my question for you is, do you feel, but I'll just give you 2 options. Okay. So do you feel pretty strongly about your message? Like when you write posts, it has your clients, the right people, like commenting on them? Or like, if you feel good about that, do you feel like you're connecting with people deeply through your content? So on the one hand, are you comfortable writing content? Like you feel like, yeah, I write it and it describes what I do. Okay. Which is the stronger one? Or if someone comments, you know, on my post, I really do feel like we connect pretty easily. So it's connection or message is sort of which one. There are 2 main things that I can help with. So which one, you know?
I'm going to make this difficult for you. I'm in between.
Okay.
I'm in between.
In between? Okay, so we'll do half and half. We can do half and half.
I'm more swaying to the second option, but it's only sometimes. It's not as frequent as I would hope it to be.
Okay, we'll do 1/3 of the first one and 2/3 of the second one. How's that? Yeah. So the primary thing here, and this is, you know, how can I give you like $10,000 worth of advice in 20 minutes? And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so the big thing, and I'll give you a little background on it. So the big thing on having the right audience, because if you're not talking to the right people to begin with, you're going to struggle to get the clients, right? Because for instance, if you're posting a lot of cat pictures and then you post an offer about NLP, you know, all the people who are commenting who love cats, they're not interested in NLP. That's a huge reason why people fail, right? They don't understand all your posts should be about what you do.
Yes.
Right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So if you can start conversations, create posts about what it is that you do, then, okay, now you have people paying attention to you that are interested. So that's a big deal, right? So how do we create that? As the Chinese expression goes, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now, today, right? So that's a Chinese proverb. Okay. So we do have time. So we actually want to plant it 10 years ago. So if we want to promote something next week or a month from now, we could plant the tree now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now is actually the past of where we're going to.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if, let's just say 2 weeks from now, and can you just tell me what you do again in like a sentence or 2? It doesn't have to be perfect, just because then I can relate it. So what do you help people with? What's your main offer?
I help female entrepreneurs to unlock their confidence. and run their business with focus and energy.
Okay. So let's just say 2 weeks from now, you want to be able to make a post that says you can help women with their confidence and focus their energy on their business, right? So what can we do now to kind of have a bunch of women interested in that before you make that offer, right? Because if we plant the tree now, 2 weeks from now, you have fruit, right? So the short answer is we want to make the conversation all about that. Okay, I'm going to unpack what that means, but I'm just trying to move simply here, right? So that should make sense, right? So if you had posts about confidence and how confidence relates to your business, does that at least make sense before we just go a little deeper?
Yeah.
Okay, so in I believe it's 66. I got to look that up again. I've been quoting the number. I hope the number hasn't changed in my memory. But in 1966, Eugene Schwartz wrote a book called Breakthrough Advertising. And since then, it was kind of the first copywriting book, right? So if you ever saw the show Mad Men, all those slick advertising people back in the day, these guys were like writing the magazine ad that people are paying millions of dollars to put in Time magazine, right? So this was one of those guys. And he wrote the first book on advertising. It's pretty much like the Bible of advertising. Everything that's come out about copywriting ever since has been either directly influenced from that book or a copy of something from there. But that's really where it all started. Now that book, I just recommend, unless you want to become the best copywriter ever, don't read it. It's dense. It's like a scientific textbook. It's really hard to read. Some of the things you have to study for years. So I'll just summarize something that's like super important from it. So he determined, I'll just cut out the big story, but he determined that there's a couple different levels of awareness, right? So you have people that aren't even aware that anything's wrong. They're just happy, right? So that's kind of like a no awareness of what you do. Then there's another level, and he called it problem aware. They're aware that they have an unfulfilled desire or some kind of problem. Like in your case, there's women that are aware that they don't have any confidence, right? Their confidence is a problem, but they don't know what to do about it. They just know, oh, my confidence isn't great, but they don't know that there's a solution, right? So for the people that know they have a problem, you need to educate them. You need to teach them a lot. But teaching them, you have a problem, now let's teach you about the solution. It takes a lot of time. But if people know that they have this confidence problem and they're actively seeking the answer, that's called outcome aware or solution aware. Okay. Yeah. So the $1 million idea, the big punchline here is that outcomes are what sells. Outcomes are what sells. So people, so we as coaches, as entrepreneurs, we want to put it in terms of here's what I can do for you. But the conversation tends to stay on Farida. You tend to talk about what's most interesting to you.
Yes.
Which what's most interesting to you is not what they really want, right? It can become, and it's not that we do this with bad intentions or anything. It's just, as the expert of what I do, my viewpoint's a little slanted to what is exciting. I'm at a more advanced level. I've studied this stuff for 25, 30 years. So what's exciting to me isn't exciting to a beginner that doesn't know the basics, right? In many ways, I forget that was ever a question because I'm just beyond it, right? So, but there's an expression that's pretty popular in the marketing world. You'll hear it a lot. What's everyone's favorite radio station? It's what's in it for me, right? So they're not going to buy what Farida thinks is exciting. They're going to buy, hey, Farida, okay, what's this going to do for me?
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at that however you want, but that's what they're really looking for. What's this going to do for me?
Yeah.
Right? So the outcome is really the major thing. So, and with outcome, there's a Well, let's think about outcomes. So what can we do with outcomes, right? So I'll discuss that in a moment, but let's just look at some other words. Outcome, result, solution, right? These are all words that describe what people buy.
Okay.
And you can think of it also as a benefit. What's the benefit for them?
Yeah.
So if you can think in terms of, okay, I'll pose it as a question to you. Okay, if somebody comes to you, Farida, gives you the money that you're charging, and they work with you,
Yeah.
right? And they do everything you tell them to do, what's going to happen for them?
They're going to have they'll have a successful business, but not just in the business. They'll have the confidence will, it'll affect all areas of their life as well. It's not.
Okay. So great. We've got one and we've got a seed for many. So you're promoting confidence. Confidence is like your big outcome, right? Now, when we have an outcome, okay, you're going to have confidence. Well, great. Everyone wants confidence. That's fantastic, but we're not saying enough because it's not specific. Yeah. But you were starting to do it. How does the confidence benefit you? And then, or another way to say is what meaning does it have for them? Okay. So if you can say the name of your program, repeat after me. We'll just go through the logic a little bit because it's easier if you just say it. So what's the name of your program? Or do you have?
I've not got a program yet.
Okay. So when you work with Farida, because we don't have a name of a program. So instead of, I would say when you enroll in blank program, when you work with Farida, right, you're going to learn how to quickly, or through this process, we're going to build your confidence, right?
Yeah.
And most people kind of stop there, or they might say, well, we'll help you have your confidence in business. Okay. How do we make that deeper? Okay. Well, tell them we got to find the meaning for them with confidence. So the statement, when you work with Farida, you're going to become a confident woman. And then with that confidence, now talk. And with that confidence, you'll be able to just say what you just said. So your business will improve.
Business will improve. Your relationships will improve. Your self-worth will improve.
How will the business improve? Let's just unpack it because we're still kind of vague. Business will improve. Let's make it more specific. Just tell me a couple ways the business can improve with confidence.
Well, they'll be able to show up online confidently. They'll be more visible. It's that self-belief. They'll believe in their own business. So they'll be able to be visible and become.
Yeah. So when you have more confidence, you're going to be able to show up online. And by showing up online, you'll attract more people because now you'll be making more appointments, right?
Yeah, but showing up online with confidence, but using the right language as well.
Right. And then what happens when you show up with the confidence, have the right language, have the more appointments? What's that going to do for the business?
That will result in more sales.
More sales. And then what does more money in the bank do for your confidence?
Yeah, confidence goes higher, increases.
Right. So we get into this perpetual cycle of increasing confidence because the more confidence you have, the better results that you have, which creates more confidence. So how do we start to build that momentum together? Well, when you come work with Farida for a little while, we'll actually be able to put that into practice. We'll actually be able to start that. So this is the format. If you could just practice what I just said, you can talk about this forever in a meaningful way, right? So see, that's our tendency. Well, you'll have more confidence. Okay. Confidence will improve your business. But what have I just said? not much, right? Like to somebody, they're like, well, what does that do for me?
Yes.
Like we understand, okay, better business confidence. Like you work with confidence, you get it, you understand the magnitude of it, but we need to help them understand it, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, we just pointed out the things, okay, when you're not confident, you're not showing up, you don't have the presence, you don't have the money, and your confidence is destroyed because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that's another aspect, is you'll actually be able to do the stuff that you promise yourself you'll do, that the confidence is preventing you from doing.
Yeah.
Because you tell yourself next week I'm going to do it, but the lack of confidence causes you not to do it. And then you're in this vicious cycle of basically shame and guilt because you're not showing up, because you lack the confidence. But until you get started, how do you build confidence naturally? Well, we're going to start small and grow, right? So does this make sense? The process is just
it makes perfect sense.
Unpack what it means. Yeah,
it does make sense, because I think you're right. I can see it, but sometimes I find it difficult trying to. I can see it from my point of view, but I find it difficult of how the client, is reading my post. And I do get a lot of engagement. I get a lot of comments, and I respond to those comments personally. But what's happening is that's where it stops.
Okay, so let's keep it
and
going.
I'm not getting them. They're not ending up with paying clients. It seems to reach that point, and then that's it. So I get a bit of an adrenaline hit, and it feels great, and I'm having these conversations, and then that's it. So that's one thing that I struggle with. And the other thing that I struggle with is actually in a post telling people my services. I'm fine with my charge, I'm fine with, I don't have any money blocks. In fact, I want to make loads of money, and money's nothing negative. Money's not a bad thing. I do want to make lots and lots of money. So that I haven't got that money block, but I struggle to put that into words in a post without somebody looking at it and thinking, oh, she's selling her services again. But if I need to overcome that, it just blocks me.
Okay, so here's part of how I can unblock it. And this is great. Everything you're saying, this is actually what we're solving here. So the thing about worrying, okay, I don't want to just seem like I'm only putting out my offer and I'm kind of like that's just kind of spammy feeling, right? Well, one good thing to understand, if you write a post and the offer is made towards the end, numbers wise, Facebook's only going to show that post to like 4 or 5% of the people. Of the 4 or 5% of the people who see the post, so if you got 100 friends, 5 people saw it. Maybe 1 or 2 read it. So if you post that thing 10 times, 20 people saw it out of the 100. So they're not going to feel like you're overdoing it because they're not really aware of it. On the other side, the people who are really following you, reading everything you're doing, well, they're convincing themselves, like by the time they read it the 7th time, maybe now they're convinced because you've given sort of different, every time you post it a little bit different. But being afraid of posting it too often, I'd say most people's problem is they don't post it enough, period. And I understand you don't want to feel like you're spamming people, but 90% of the people are unaware of the fact that you've posted that offer before. Even if you posted it 10 days in a row, on day 11, new people see it. So that's one thing to understand, to just say, okay, I can be more liberal with that.
Yeah.
But another thing you can do is, well, you don't have to post that every day. So if you post just a question or just a statement, super short, right? That allows people who it catches their eye for them to share an opinion, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is when you do post the bigger post, Facebook's going to show that to the people that you've been talking to. Yeah. So having just a simple question is going to get you talking to the right people if you ask the question properly. So We were talking about confidence and business, right? So, you know, you can ask a question you can ask it a couple different ways. How has a lack of confidence cost you business? Would be one way to ask it, right? Now, but we have to be careful because that's, you know, we don't want to only attract the desperate, sad people who are like, I'm pitiful, I have no confidence. There's people who,
Sorry.
some of them is good. Yeah. Like the people with zero confidence aren't necessarily your best clients, right? Because they may never get over it. It's like someone who's 300 pounds overweight and they're like, they have diabetes and they're ready to die. They're not your best weight loss client. It's the person who's lost 100 pounds and needs to lose 10 more, right? So, you know, people who used to struggle with their confidence and they've built it up, but they're still realize there's growth. They're probably going to be, you know, they've already made progress. They're already invested in that path. Right?
And that was me. That was me.
Right. So a more empowering kind of question is, you know, how has increased confidence helped you grow your business? Or you can make it hypothetical. How could more confidence impact your business? And you can take you just say impact your business. So you're not saying it's good or bad. You're just saying if you have more confidence.
Yeah.
You know, or you could ask a question, is it beneficial to everyone to have more confidence? Or does everyone need more confidence in business? You can ask these types of questions.
Yeah.
And you may feel like you're being a broken record, but here's what happens. Your thing is all about confidence. So you want to creatively go deeper and think about, how do I ask questions about the relationship between confidence and business, and ask that 100 different ways.
Okay.
Because what will happen is everyone who comments on that first question, they're interested in the topic of confidence in business, right? Well, you need that because 2 weeks from now, you want to sell them a program, help them to develop that. So when you ask the question from a different angle tomorrow or 3 days from now, a lot of those same people will comment again, right? Because it's a meaningful, you know, discussion for them. And you can actually ask what the meaning is. If you had more confidence tomorrow, what would it do for your business, right? Yeah. And now they're telling you the meaning. So when you write the bigger post, when someone says, well, if I had more confidence, I'd make more sales right away. Well, we already talked about that. Yeah. But the cool thing is when you ask that question, you're going to get answers that you never thought of.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah. So wow. When I said I'm going to give you a $10,000 secret in 20 minutes, if you make the conversation all about that outcome, it could be as simple as the relationship between confidence and business. That's like your main outcome so far, you know. So yeah, Tanya.
So you basically, you know, like a lot of, you might have heard other coaches say, go and ask your audience, go and do some market research. By just posting that one question, your audience, you know, the ones that are already following you, right, will, or those that are, you know, especially if you do it as a public post on your personal profile, they are actually giving you information, and you're using I mean, this is something that Brian's really good at. Use the language of your audience. So when I first met Brian back in 2021, my mission has always been about burnout, okay, and helping, and I'm also a recovered workaholic. So at that time, I was just kind of focusing on workaholism and workaholics, but not everybody recognizes, first of all, that they're a workaholic, and that's the problem. For a lot of people, that's like the solution. And by actually offering some 4-day transformations, I learned the language of my audience. So a lot of them don't use the word alcoholic, they use high achievers or ambitious people or generous people or charitable people.
Well, when you're in denial, that's gonna sound different, right?
Yeah. And a lot of my audience are very successful. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs are very successful. So I know that there is Brian's really good at busting myths. I'm becoming better at busting myths. For instance, there's this big, massive myth in the online space that you have to, do your business full time. No, you don't have to do your business full time. Lots of people have multiple businesses, or they're having a side business and they're enjoying life. So there's this big, massive myth in the online place that you have to have, you have to cater for the biggest problem and just talk about the biggest problem, right? And like Brian said, the person that wants to lose 100 pounds isn't your ideal client. If you're a weight loss it's the one that wants to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds. Again, it's the person that with zero confidence is not your ideal client. It's somebody that is, like me, that is like 60% or 80% confident most of the time. But I kind of want to become like 100% confident.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or someone who's 99% confident and it bothers them that they're not 100% confident, right? That's sort of where I'm at with things.
I am my ideal client. That's who I was. I was confident, but I knew I could raise the bar. And that's what I wanted to do.
It's like I said last week. A lot of the time, your ideal client is an older version of you.
Where were you a year ago? 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 years ago, depending on how far you are. I'd say anyone from 3 years ago until now. Even someone a week behind you would be possibly an ideal client, as long as you stay ahead, right? And Tanya was saying, she brought this up, it's really good as far as market research goes. Well, this is awesome because we're doing the market research and we're building the relationship at the same time. So now actually we're going to move into that other segment here because it's beautiful. It just makes sense to go there. So now we're getting into the thing where, okay, people, they understand the outcome you provide. We've talked about it. And if you make the conversation about that outcome, you have people who are interested in that outcome. And just to highlight, someone who already has the outcome and wants more is probably a better potential client than someone who doesn't have any of it. So, but that's a big mistake. A lot of people will look for the 0% confidence person. And then, if they haven't budged and they have zero, there's probably some deeper reasons. That's the harder person to help, right? So but when people do their messaging, they tend to attract that kind of person because they make it the most extreme case. So starting your conversations about an awesome thing can happen. How has confidence improved? How has increased confidence improved your business? Well, you'll get all the people who have boosted their confidence. Great. We already identify them as potential clients. We'll have some people saying, I don't have confidence. I wish I did. That's still what you're looking for. Yes. Okay. So now, the hardest part actually is done. So you thinking of the thoughtful question, you're asking it. Now someone has made a comment, and I'll just say anyone who comments on a properly worded question, we could just say, if I'm a detective or if I had to make a case to a jury, I could prove that that person's a good potential client. So when you're deliberate and intentional with those questions, I'll just say, anytime you see somebody leave a comment, just light bulb in your head. Okay, that's someone who I could work with. They've identified themselves as someone who's come to me for advice, exploration. Now, that's not 100% the case, right? So just understand as well that they may not be a client, but I just say that they're in the bucket of could be a client and not delirious or crazy to think that they will be, right? High probability, right? With high probability, there's certain still strikes, still misses, right? But it's a good mindset. And you don't have to like point at one person. If you got 100 people in the bucket, you don't have to say, well, it has to be Joe or Jamie. Okay. Whether Jamie does it or not, you trust the system. I got 100 people in the bucket, and some of them are gonna, when I put the net in there, some are gonna come out and work with me, right? So Now, how do we make the bucket better? Okay, so once we've made it relevant, it's about the outcome. Okay, intellectually, we've done our job, but we haven't gotten into the emotional yet. And really, what makes people buy is a relationship. They know who you are. They feel like they can trust you because, hey, there's a lot of people out there saying that they'll help with various things. And if they're in your confidence bucket, they're in, there's other people out there that help with confidence. They're in that bucket too, right? And that's not a problem. But at the end of the day, why would someone give Farida money and spend time with Farida? They want to feel comfortable, safe, like, hey, this is someone who cares about me, who will support me. The money isn't the thing. They want the outcome. If they want the outcome bad enough, they'll pay the money. But the bigger issue is, who am I spending my time with? I'm not just if I'm gonna pay $1,000, we're just making up a price, to Farida, who's someone that I really like and I believe that she can help me and she cares, or to someone who is only in it for the money and I don't really feel like they care about me. Farida wins. So how do we do that? And, I've seen this like triple the amount of people that will sign up. So whereas some people may need 100 people in the bucket to get like 5 people to say yes, I'll get like 30 if I got 100 in my bucket. So I don't know the exact numbers, but I get way more people coming to work with me because of what I'm about to share with you.
Right.
And so the first thing is drop the agenda. So if you ask a question, in fact, even if you make a post that says, come work with me, leave a comment below if you're interested and let me know. You can actually have the freedom, Farida, to like never have to say, let's just say Jamie's the person who commented on the post. You don't have to say, hey, Jamie, I think you should work with me. You don't have to do that. That's what your post does, right? So your job in asking these questions is not to convince anyone that they should work with you. That's going to be in the post. If you do your job, they'll read the post. If they read the post and want that, then they're just going to say, I want to work with you. And it happens so much better because if you get the timing wrong and you say, hey, Jamie, let's book a call. I really want to work with you. You can repel Jamie with that. She might be feeling pretty good, pretty rosy. She's 80% there. You could turn her into not there at all, right? I like not having to worry about that. So here's what you're committed to. You're committed to have a conversation that reaches a deeper truth about how important confidence is in business. That's it. All you care about in the conversation is, can I deeply understand the relationship between confidence and business? What does that do? Now we're picking the confidence in business as one of these things. Over time, you may have 2 or 3 other topics.
Yeah.
But, right, so the confidence in business, all you want to do is reach a deeper truth. What do people believe? And you're not trying to convince them. What do they believe about confidence? Is it something you got to have? It's like oxygen, or is it something that's nice to have, like a piece of cake, right? This is just what you're trying to find out. And the beauty of it is you're not trying to find this out in general. If you have 100 conversations, you'll have some general things like most people believe this. But what you're trying to find it out is for each individual. What's the meaning for them? And you can do that in a conversation.
Right.
And the goodness that happens if I take the time to talk to Jamie and I just have a conversation with Jamie and Jamie's opinion matters, right? Well, what's cool is as Jamie and I have the discussion, Stephanie, Josie, Andrea, they'll see it and they can jump in and they can say, oh, I like what you said, Jamie, or I like what you said, Brian, right? So it attracts more people. And then when Stephanie jumps in, I could say, oh, cool. Like, hey, Stephanie, well, what do you think? So
okay.
I'm here to talk about confidence in business. What's that relationship? And I'm just here. I'm wanting to, anyone who comes in, I really want to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That solves all your marketing, really, if it's clear.
Yes.
So now, how do we make this deep connection on the emotional level? So how do we connect with people where it's like, we're old friends quickly, like within a few exchanges? And I'm going to share that right now. So there's an acronym called LAUGH. Okay, so the first step of LAUGH, it's an acronym, so each letter spells something.
Yeah.
But before we get into that meaning, the reason why it's LAUGH is this is lighthearted, this is fun. Put a smile on, right? And even laugh out loud, like ha ha ha, and let it be silly, right? Because a year from now, people aren't going to remember what you said to them as much as how you made them feel, right? So when you're in a happy place, it's going to work better. So now what does LAUGH mean? Well, I'd like you to write this down, because if you write it down, you'll probably remember it. So write it going down, L.A.U.G.H. Circle the U, it's the most important. So I won't make you memorize all the letters, but U is the one that you should really take away forever, okay? Like, you'll probably remember most of them, but U is the real one. If you want to like forget everything else, just remember the U. So the first letter L stands for love. Okay, now what does that mean? I'm not suggesting that you tell everyone you love them, but can you interact in a loving way? Like love has a feeling, right? Everyone responds to it. Everyone wants more of it. It's a good, all the religions preach it, right? Can I act lovingly? Well, yeah, I care about people. I want to help them, right? And can I help them now versus, no, you got to give me money before I can help you. That's not very loving, right? So and this is subjective. So if you remember, if you're having conversations just once in a while, okay, I don't know what to say. You can go through it. L, is there an opportunity to express something lovingly, right? And L is kind of the spirit for the rest of them too. Like you could do all of this in a loving way, okay? A is appreciation. So as it's a really twisted thing here that we're fixing. Excuse me, I'm getting dry because I'm talking a lot. So it's been taught this way, but it's just a twisted thing that we have as someone wanting to like promote ourselves as experts or leaders or mentors or teachers. Like we want to help people, but we're kind of afraid, like we want to be the expert and we don't want to give anyone else credit because we feel like it's going to diminish, somehow leak our authority if we tell someone else that they're already doing good, because we're trying to create this situation where you're like desperate and lost without me and anything you do is stupid. And that's just retarded. Again, the person who lost the 100 pounds, good for you. That's awesome. Like before I say I can help you with the 10, how did you do that? Most people can't, right? That is so much tastier to them, right? It's so much, it's like a flower, like they love it, right? What a lot of people try to do is, oh, you lost 100 pounds, what's your goal? My goal is to lose 110. Well, why didn't you lose the 10, idiot? That's the attitude, right? I can help you lose the 10. Okay, Tanya?
With the appreciation, I think what you've reminded me of, and Farida could relate to this. I mean, having studied with my spiritual teacher Halima for like, I don't know, 25, 27 years, she actually said the Prophet Muhammad, one of the major qualities that he had was he always encouraged. He was always very encouraging. And I think
encouragement.
Like you just remind me of his sunnah, his example, but by what you're actually saying, because it's like you flipped what the majority of people in the industry on the online space says, because they always kind of say, well, you kind of like, you got to teach them, they've commented, so you've got to teach them. And sometimes, sort of like, sometimes that feels like a public humiliation. I mean, I've had that recently. I had that with somebody in the coaching jungle that was, okay, I kind of appreciate some of his comments, but it was like, I hadn't, put the post, I hadn't kind of like put it down a bit. So I was like saying, you know, you're going to be shocked by this. And in my copy, I hadn't put it down a little bit. So you're not going to get shocked, because you could see that, you know, the first 2 lines.
Yeah.
And so he just basically like gave a screenshot of it. And I thought, you know, I could see that he's trying to like trap me, because he just thinks that, you know, I don't know anything, and, you know, I'm, you know, so it was like, it also kind of doesn't make him look very good. So you've kind of completely flipped what everybody else is saying in the industry. Just wanted to add that. Sorry, Brian.
Little bonus tip, just because it's coming up. If you're ever dealing with spiritual people, here's how to out spiritual anyone. If you get in a disagreement with someone who's very spiritual, even if they're not spiritual, just say blessings. Bless you, brother. Bless you, sister.
Yeah.
It shuts them up. How do you argue against that, right? It's beautiful. In fact, you know, Jesus said, pray for your enemies, right? Bless people who are out to get you, right? I'm sure Muhammad has, you know, something on that topic too, right? So, but the appreciation. So here's the thing. Everyone you encounter, if you look at it from their point of view, they are trying to do good in the world, and they believe they are. Now, everyone who's trying to do good in the world understands where they fall short. We all know where we're not perfect, but like, except for a very small percentage of damaged people, do most people think I'm an asshole, I'm doing everything wrong? No, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing the best I can, and I'd like to do better is pretty universal, right? Some people harder on themselves than others. So when our first impulse is to correct them or show what they're doing wrong, they're like, it goes against their belief system. Like, wait a minute, I'm not a jerk. I'm not an idiot. You know, I learned what I'm doing from, you know, either my experience or someone told me. So, you know, it's like beating them up to like give them advice. And you know what? Unsolicited advice is one of the things that it just rarely ever well received. If someone's not asking for advice, don't give it. Because actually, if we give advice to someone who's not asking, well, there's 2 bad possibilities. 1, you offend them because they weren't asking. 2, like they didn't really want the advice, but now if they take it and it doesn't work, there's a possibility that we just, you know, ruin their reputation or something. And only the 3rd option is that they listen to the advice and are blessed by it or benefited by it. But there's 2 bad options out of those 3. So it's wise to just not give unsolicited advice. But when you're posting your post and someone asks you, what should I do? You can offer it. Right. But the appreciation is, and if you're looking for something wrong, you'll always find it. If you're looking for something right, you'll always find it. So what can you, from what they said, or you can like look at their profile picture really quickly.
Yeah.
What can you share that you appreciate about them, their intentions, or what they've said? Okay. So even if they say something wrong, you could say, I appreciate that I don't know, someone could say, and just as an extreme example, someone could say you don't need confidence to do business, or confidence won't help you in business, something that you're like wanting to disagree with. You can say, well, that's really interesting. I haven't heard it expressed that way before. I appreciate that you're a free thinker. You're actually thinking about this and not just listening to what anyone else says. You can find anything to appreciate about it.
Right.
And by saying that, you've connected with them, right? Yeah. So appreciation is huge. You know, or if someone leaves like a 4-paragraph comment, even if they were like, and you have to use your discernment, they could have been attacking you the whole time. You won't say, I appreciate your attack. No. But if they left a thoughtful, like 4-paragraph comment, in your response could be, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to respond so deeply, you know? And if they're kind of someone who does that often, that could be your whole response, you know? But if someone's taken 4 paragraphs to respond, it would be good for you to like respond in kind, right? Like we do a lot of effort to attract people to us, but it's like if we're always looking for more people and we're not taking care of the ones that have already shown up,
Yes.
I have this analogy for it. I'm married, but let's say I wanted to find a woman to date. And if I went out in one evening and got 3 phone numbers from women, but I came home and I threw the number in the trash can. And I go out tomorrow and I get 3 more numbers and I throw the number away tomorrow. Will I ever get a date if I never call any of them?
No.
But that's what we're doing by posting, but then someone comments and we just say, yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
No relationship happens. Nothing is learned. And yeah, you're frustrated. You're like, I've got 100 comments, but nothing's happening. So
Okay.
but that relationship, like your friends, is going to come a lot from like the appreciation. And, like what can you appreciate about it? Now, even just sharing that appreciation would be enough, but then how can that open a door to something else? You appreciate what they've shared, and then you want to ask them a question to just learn more, Another thing you can appreciate that, is a little beneath the surface, you have to look for it. Keeping in mind, you're the expert at confidence, or, you're helping people with it. Not that you're the greatest expert that ever lived, but that's your thing, right? So you can appreciate, even though they may not be very good with what they said, it may be very incomplete, you can appreciate their intention that they're trying is huge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So just say, I appreciate that. Like if someone says, yeah, my confidence, I've always struggled with it. And even though I don't feel confident, I still get out there and I struggle, but I'm doing it. You can say, hey, we don't have to use the word appreciate. Well, you can say, what do I appreciate about that? A response might be, well, good for you. Most people that feel that way don't try. And I admire the fact that you still try, even though you're not feeling totally confident yet. And then that's a good time to ask, have you tried this? Or, okay, you've been struggling. Do you think this will change, or will it be this way forever? Would be a good question.
Yeah. Okay.
So getting into the conversational stuff, we can also just ask questions about what's their belief. Are they going to get the outcome in the future? Right? Like questions that get to, are they working on it? Do they think it's going to happen? Because some people will say, no, I don't think I ever will have more confidence.
Yeah.
Then you want to know why. Why do you think it can't change? If some people have it and some people don't, what is it that may make you think that some people can't? Anyway, appreciate.
Right.
Now, the biggest one. You can look at all the other ones as kind of like part of you, but you is understand. Okay, so I'll take a sip while you write that down. Understand, burn that in your brain. Now, every single person alive wants to be understood, right? And especially it's just funny. We have our agenda and our way of thinking about things, but let's just look at someone who has a social media profile, who's spending time uploading pictures of their families, uploading whatever posts that they're creating. They're putting a lot of time into it, right? Even if it's just recreation, they're still pouring themselves into, like, hey, part of all of our lives are social media. Our life is also online, right? So, it's easy to like look at a profile picture and think nothing of it, but they may have taken 15 different pictures and chosen that one. They may have went out for an afternoon and did that on purpose, right? So if we can look at simple things, their profile picture, or they posted a picture of their family at a barbecue. If you notice that, I literally will I'll sit back. So I'm not touching the computer. And I just look at it with all of my vision. What can I understand about this person that they're trying to show me with what they're doing?
Okay.
And if I can express that to them, now I've connected, because I do what very few people are going to do, is I'm trying to understand them, nothing about me. So in the profile picture that has a tropical background, oh, that's a beautiful picture. Was that, maybe they're like 50-year-old woman. I could make a joke and say, was that your honeymoon? Right? It's probably not. That's funny, right? But, or, oh, that's a beautiful background. Where was that? They cared enough to want to show it. So that's part of me wanting to understand, or if someone has a great smile, I could say that's a really confident smile. And you're like, especially in your post, if they comment on the post and you see them smiling really nicely on their profile picture, you could say, hey, we're talking about confidence here. You've got a really confident looking smile. How, do you feel that way inside too? Wow. That's understanding who they are. Now, they wanted to project confidence. That's why they have the smile. I'm also aware of the fact that they probably that may be fake. Because what people are trying to show me isn't always true. It's an ideal that they either want to project or they feel like they have to project that. But there's two layers here. I really want to understand the truth, but I also want to acknowledge, okay, they're trying to show me this. So let me acknowledge the fact, and kind of back to, they may be doing it poorly. It may not look good, but, acknowledging, understanding who they are. And this is something you just read. I mean, you can practice. I could do it in like 10 seconds. What's one thing that I could understand about this person and share that with them, So that's huge, because when you express that to them, you've connected. They're going to be like, wow, it makes a big deal. Okay. Like you'll get very interesting responses from people when you do this. Okay. The G in Laugh is get closer. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that the guy, if I mouse over his profile picture, it says he's in Memphis, Tennessee, and I could mention Elvis, actually, hold on. I'm getting an urgent call. I think it's from my wife. Can I just pause? Tanya, yeah. Can you comment there? Let me just answer this.
Yeah, of course. So how does that feel, Farida?
This is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have not heard any of this before. I have never looked at my business, my posts, my marketing from this perspective at all. What I've been doing is it's been more about what I want to project and what messaging I want. Yeah. And this is like completely different. So all the noise, all the social media noise that I've been listening to for the past 12 months, this is the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to give the best. I always said to you that I over deliver.
Yes.
I under promise and I over deliver. So so this is something that isn't really taught out there, because obviously we were talking about it last week, that it's about know, like, and trust. So the conversation, right, is the deeper the conversation, the more this does require a bit of time. So what I tend to do is I take this is logistically how to do Laugh. So I tend to take half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening just to respond to the comments, on my notifications. So and sometimes to not just, because you probably have seen this, because a lot of people are playing to the algorithm. So they're kind of saying, there's engagement, that means that you're going to see, but they're kind of doing it in a very superficial way.
Okay.
I agree. Oh, love this. And there's a predictive text now on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when you do happy birthday, they will give you the
Yes.
emojis afterwards.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, because obviously social media was made to be social,
Yeah.
right? So when Facebook was made, it was made for being social. So if you're not being social, so what happened was over time, the marketeers, have like taken over. And so what you will get mostly in the coaching space is a lot of business coaches coaching you how to market, right? Because social media, whether that's LinkedIn or whether that's Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, the basis, the whole basis is to be social and to have those relationships. So when Facebook, was first created, it was about you linking to your family and your friends.
Yeah.
Marketing comes from direct place an ad in a magazine and the niche will read it, or send a letter in the mail, people will read it. Until Facebook and social media happened, it was broadcast only. You buy it if you read that message. But so a lot of that's been translated and leaving the people out because that's just the history of where it's rooted. But the format has changed where it's interactive. Like marketing now is a conversation, it's one-on-one, which any salesperson, like if you think about before Facebook, any salesperson's wet dream was, how can I have a conversation with people that are interested in what I'm selling? All you have to do now is go into a group and ask a question. What does confidence have to do with business? And you're talking to people who want what you're selling, So, and yeah, Taniya mentioned this, like if Taniya wasn't who Taniya is, I would not be here. So it's because of our relationship, because Taniya's just been like one of the best people I know, the most meaningful connections I've had. And it started with us taking the time to basically understand each other was the root of it. We actually had that in the beginning.
So I remember the very first conversation that I had with Brian, it was to do with the Bible or the Quran. Yeah, it was something to do with spirituality or scripture.
We should do that. We should talk interfaith talk.
We should probably do another masterclass on that. And so when Brian introduced me to the L.A.U.G.H framework back in 2021, and at that time it was a different version. So what the L.A.U.G.H framework was at that time was to have these conversations via Facebook Messenger, right?
There's more DMs involved,
yeah. And so basically I actually nurtured quite a lot of good relationships, right? And some of them are still prospective buyers, right, via Facebook Messenger, and some of them are now interested in what I'm launching now. And I still use the laugh method to encourage them, because what Brian's philosophy is treat your prospective buyers like they've already bought from you.
Yeah.
And I'm actually just going to share something very personal here. I had certain coaches very much in the beginning of my journey who've helped me, and I'll always be indebted to them. But what happened was, once I stopped being their client, they unsubscribed from my email list, right? They left my Facebook group, and it's that hurt, because for me, mentors are there for life, right? They're always there, whether you're buying from them or not. And I think when you actually then treat prospective buyers like they're already your buyers, and treat them like clients, they will eventually become your clients. Maybe not straight away, but they will always eventually become your clients.
There's two fundamental philosophies on marketing and sales, and we needed this to change. So here's what the dominant philosophy is right now, and I'll call it masculine because it really is the masculine type energy, and it has nothing to do with male or female, but it's the more aggressive, active. And the philosophy is, the customer doesn't know what's good for them. They need me to tell them. And if they object, it's just because they don't know enough. I have to tell them and force it. That's the predominant prevailing attitude. There's another attitude, which this is one, my prediction is anyone who adopts this one is just going to win more and more, because it's reached saturation where you can't just intimidate people and force them into it. Here's the other attitude. I trust that everyone's going to do what's right for them. And I just have to be clear about what I'm willing to do. And if I can let the door be open, and whoever wants to come in, comes in, and there's no pressure, there's no problem. That's what we'll call feminine, right? That's more attractive. It's like, hey, here's what I have to offer. If you want it, it's available. That's it, right? Mm-hmm. So my job is to explain what it is. And you see, that's why the forcing thing, they don't really tell you what you're buying. And that's a problem. It's like walking into a car dealership and, okay, I'd like a car. Well, we got them all in a warehouse 3 miles away. Well, can I test drive one? No, they drive. We'll guarantee that the thing runs. It's only, one SUV or a compact car. I want an SUV. Okay, $45,000. Well, can I see it? What color do you want? We have green, red, and blue. But they won't let you see it. It's weird, right? Mm-hmm. What a better experience would be, you walk into the showroom, hey, what color do you like? Green. Got some nice green cars over here. Can I drive that one? Sure. What kind of music do you like? I love reggae. Well, let's put the Bob Marley on, right? I see you're in shorts. It's a hot day out. Let's turn the air conditioner on, right? And then we drive by the beach, right? Hey, you like Philly cheesesteaks? There's a cool place. You want to stop? Yeah, I'm buying. That would be the way to do it, right?
Yes.
So my philosophy is hey, it's like you're holding a barbecue and you're inviting friends to it. Should be the attitude, yes. Right? So get closer. Okay. In the lab. Get closer is like this. If I see someone post from Michigan and I know they're in Michigan, I'll say, hey, my Uncle Steve's from Michigan. I love that Verner's ginger ale. You can only get it in Michigan, right? Or someone posts they're in Arizona. My brother-in-law lives in Arizona. Get closer is just, what's our bond, or if I notice they went to, I don't know, they live in Pennsylvania close to where I grew up. That's a conversation, right? So the get closer is, what do you have in common? If they have a picture, we have a Jack Russell Terrier. So if I see someone who has a Jack Russell Terrier, I'll say, oh, my dog Bandit looks just like your dog. What's your dog's name? Would be the common thing. So that's get closer, right? So whatever you have in common, so, if you see someone, posting about the Quran, a quote would be a thing in common, right? Like, if they're commenting on your question that was specific and you see the Islamic symbol or artwork or dress, then you've got something to talk about, Yeah. So, but that's just one thing, they may have, I don't know, in the background, I don't know, whatever, a painting from an artist that and like. Yes. It could be anything. So get closer is that. And the H, there's 2 for H. So help them. And I have a bonus, which is happy them, humor, make it funny, right? So you can be playful, happy, make anything that makes them happy is good, right? So, not being serious all the time, you can joke with them a little bit. If it's appropriate, that's up to you. Sometimes when someone's too serious, you just want to say something funny to break that, just for fun, just to blow their mind, right? I like that. To me, that's fun. So, but to help them, and this is a big deal. The attitude that it's not good for the person, they don't like it, it's not going to win with them, is, we've identified they've had this unfulfilled desire, problem, whatever you want to call it. And okay, well, let's book a call 3 weeks from now because I can help you if you basically pay me money. No, that's the bad attitude. Right now, they've expressed that they need help with something. Help them now. So we have this fear that if we give them information, they won't work with us. But how are we going to demonstrate that we can help them if we don't tell them anything helpful to them, right? So with anybody who asks me a question, how do I do anything related to what I do? If anyone asks me in a comment, how do I do that? I can answer it in a paragraph, 5 paragraphs, or 10 paragraphs. And I want to answer it in a way that if they go off and do what I suggested, they get the result. It helps them. I know from experience that most people won't do that, either because they don't know how, or they aren't going to follow through. They might understand the idea, but they just won't do it. Maybe they lack confidence to even try, right? So, but to demonstrate that we can help someone, rather than having like your best secret that, okay, if someone pays me 10 grand, I'll give them the help. In the comments, you can help everyone right now in the form of a comment. And the fear is, if I do that, people won't work with me. Well, all of the books in college you can buy as textbooks. Why doesn't everyone have every degree? The information's all on the internet. If people have the right information, then basically it doesn't mean they're going to solve the problem or get the help.
And you're actually, because when I did Laugh with Brian, last year, we were doing it via Facebook Messenger. That actually cuts off the energy, because what's happening is when you're doing it in the comments within a Facebook group or on your personal profile or their personal profile, what you're actually doing is everybody else is following the conversation. Trust me, lots of people actually follow the conversation. Like Brian and I have conversations in Freedom Initiative or the space. People are actually watching your conversation. They're actually looking at how you actually what you're actually saying. A lot of people kind of forget that, because they forget, is this becoming like a private conversation? And it's not, because if it's in a public group or in a private group, lots of people within that group or your friends, or if it's a public post, are actually following and actually reading.
Just
so basically, you're showing your expertise.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, because I took my mum to the local market on Tuesday, and there was a lady behind one of the fruit and veg stalls, and she says to me, "Are you Farida?" And I didn't know who she was, and I went, "Yes." I said, "How do you know?" She said, "I've seen you on social media."
Yeah.
You'd be actually surprised. I mean, I got a referral from somebody that was like my husband's colleague's, wife, and she goes, "Oh, I want you to work with my niece." And I was like, I didn't even know that she was following me. I didn't even really know her. You'd be surprised.
I've experimentally determined, just assume if there's 5 people commenting on your post, assume there's 5 invisible. It's about the same number watching that are participating. And I see evidence of it all the time. People will sign up and I have their email address, and I'm trying to find them on Facebook to invite them to a group. I don't know who they are because they've never commented on anything. It happens to me once a week. Someone who's been watching and all of a sudden they bought something, or all of a sudden they message me and they want a link to it, out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, I remember adding that person as a friend, but I haven't seen him since, so it's real.
And what I tend to do to test who's still kind of following me or kind of interested, I tend to every so often just change my personal profile picture.
Yeah.
Just every so often, every 3 or 4 months. I don't do it very regularly, and that kind of helps me kind of see who's actually. And I'm always surprised because I get 70 reactions and 10-15 comments just because I've changed my personal profile picture. It's a good test.
Okay.
But the helping them is critical, because how can you show people that you can, everyone's watching the conversation. if you're not providing deep insight or here's how you can build your confidence, that's a big reason why people would struggle. It's like, I'm not wanting to reveal anything about how to do it, but I want you to pay me money. When it's the opposite. If I can show you how to do it now, what you just said is the truth. It's right. Yeah, that's something that I would like to help with, because you've been so clear about it. So when somebody asks you a question, how do I do that? That's like a free ad for work with me if you answer it right. And what's cool.
What I'm doing is I think I'm keeping too much close to my chest rather than telling,
So what happens is we're all afraid of like giving it all away. Right? But I'm sure you have so much expertise because you've been in leadership, corporate, you have so much. So if we can't give it all away, right? Because there's so much richness, but that's what we give from our overflow. So that little bit that we give, that for one person is massive.
Yes, true. Yeah.
It's the same with love. I'm not going to love you unless you do this for me and do that for me. Well, if you have too many stipulations, you block it. There's no love, right? It's the same idea. If I'm not willing to help anyone, how can I help people? Hey, if you restrict the flow, it stops, right? You want to be seen by everyone as someone who can help people with their confidence in business. How do you demonstrate that? In the comments is one of the best places to do it, and it will attract attention from others. And if you write a 4-paragraph response, you can post that as a post. You might need to just change the tense a little bit, but like, hey, put that in a file and post it tomorrow, or as you're doing it, you could post it on your profile if it's happening in a group. Just so it's like your content can be born out of real discussions.
And sometimes those conversations that are happening in the comments, that's actually good content to use in the post. Like, for instance, I had a conversation with Patty about this reflective space, and that we were just kind of like talking, and I had a conversation with Brian, and I kind of used that for my content for another post.
Yeah. And she tagged us in it, so you can incorporate the person you're having that discussion with. Imagine you're having a conversation in the group, and Jamie asked a thought-provoking question, and you gave a good answer. On your profile, you could say, hey, I was having a great discussion with Jamie in the Freedom Initiative. She asked this, and you can quote her, and that got me thinking, here's what you would do, and then you post your answer, and then in the end, well, what do you think? I'm just abbreviating the idea. But you ask a meaningful question at the end. Now Jamie's likely to say, oh yeah, that's a great conversation. Thanks, Farida. Jamie, and now new people can get in on it. By doing that, you're also implicitly showing, hey, me, Farida, I'm out there helping people. Here's a great question from Jamie. Here's how I answered it. You're demonstrating that you're a leader, that you've got the value, you've got the answers. So you're doing all the good stuff,
Wow.
Just because, it's that funny thing. If you're wanting to attract money and you walk by a dime on the ground and you don't pick it up, it's like, if you're not gonna, it's gratitude. If you're not gonna be happy with what God's given you, you're not gonna get more, right? You don't play with the toys you've got, you don't need more toys.
True.
If you don't deal with the people you've got, you don't need more people. Right? It's a gratitude thing.
Yes.
And
so
business has to be, you have to, like, laugh is really good because it's actually fun. Doing laugh is actually very, it's, you actually kind of enjoy it because it's actually building relationships, and we love building relationships, don't we?
You're given from the overflow of abundance. I love that Taniya said that. Like, for me, I realized I've spent over 110,000 hours either doing marketing or thinking about it. I've calculated it. It's true. 110,000 hours. I could spend the rest of my life trying to express what I've already thought about. And I don't have enough time to do that. It's impossible. So I can't give it all away. And in fact, the more I talk about it, the more I learn. So as I start to talk to you, Farida, I'm learning too. I'm not going to just rehash what I've already done. Now we're doing new. So it's impossible to give it away. And many people make the mistake of, no, I need to like branch out and look for other things. No, we need to go. If you want to be the confidence in business expert, go deeper into confidence. What does confidence mean? What are all the ways to build your confidence? What do people do to build their confidence and it doesn't work? Why doesn't that work? What is missing?
Yes.
You know, like really, we could spend the rest of our lives trying to just understand confidence and never finish.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
There's always going to be one person who does everything right and it still doesn't work. Why? What was different about them? This is productive.
Yeah.
And if we really make it about someone in the conversation, okay, I want to understand what their beliefs about confidence are. It really is, you can imagine, impossible to complete the task. You don't want to complete it.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's real goal is to be more confident, they're going to be best served by the person who cares the most about how to do that, right? So that's where you make that's where you make there. If you choose to be the confidence person, go deeper than anyone else goes.
Right.
You know, and in that, you may go 3 clicks down the road and realize it's not really about confidence. It's about this other thing. Then you'll go deep into that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's cool. It can change. But go deeply enough into confidence where you've either solved it or you've found something underneath it all that's more important. And then you can be all about that. And confidence is just sort of one thing that leads to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no substitute for doing that process. You'll figure it out. You'll learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Brian.
has been absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
I can't even think of the words to describe this past 1.5 hours. I've
Smiles.
had a conversation about marketing in this way.
And you see, that's the thing. What most people consider marketing is funnels, copy, message, offer. It's this much. It's that's a huge topic. It's only this much marketing. Relationships is so much bigger. And
I'm actually Brian knows him well. Okay, I think you know him well. So there is a famous coach, you might have heard of him, called Manny Wolf. Okay, you might have heard of him. So Manny Wolf and I know Manny Wolf. I've seen him around, but we kind of connected on Messenger, not to do with my business. It was to do with education and my social work job. Right. So I know and trust Manny because I know that he's really passionate about reforming education. Right. But I bought one of his, how to, speak and, how to tell your story because of that relationship. Not because I was following a lot of his posts. I kind of followed him a little bit, but not really. But because I had that, because I know and trust him. Right. And the relationship is the key. I think what I'm going to quote Brian, tell me if I'm saying this wrong. What the internet is actually a laboratory, but the marketeers have made it into a classroom.
Yeah.
Am I right? Did I quote you right?
Yeah, that's the idea. I don't know how.
Yeah?
I don't remember how I said it, but that's the idea.
Yeah, and so
You might have said it better than me.
I was actually there's a synchronicity there. I was actually passing. I'm going to let you both go in a minute. I was actually passing St. George's Hospital, and I go through the hospital to get home from work. And there was this statue, and it's a statue of a very famous surgeon called John Turner. I think it's John Turner, who also taught another famous surgeon in the 18th century called Edward Jenner. And John Turner basically said this was about surgery. They were kind of the very first surgeons in British medicine. And he actually said, think later, do the experiment. Think later,
Right.
and the thing is, when we kind of like see what works, what doesn't work, because that's what entrepreneurship is, kind of like seeing what works, seeing what price works, seeing, you know, what post works, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it's, you know, like
Get
even
data
the
first and then have your theory.
yeah, and then you kind of like, that's the magic of entrepreneurship, because a lot of people kind of think they have to have their whole program set out, everything, every, you know, I dotted, every T crossed. No, it's something that evolves and grows, and you test it out. Like the reflective space was an idea that I had, and then even before I launched it, you guys joined, you and Juliana joined, and this was just like just privately testing it out with some messages. So I'm really glad that you found this very useful.
Yeah. No, I found it more than useful. I think it's been a huge turning point, to be honest.
And if I can suggest, study this, because really, just until you fully understand it and feel like, okay, broken record, like this is all gold stuff. If you just do this, it's going to work a lot differently than it's been working. Yeah.
No, it will. It will.
So one thing Brian has, he's got this like magic number called 30. If you have 30 people in your audience that you can do laugh with, they will eventually, you know, inshallah, God willing, they eventually will become, either they'll become your, you know, buyers, or they'll become your biggest fans. And we always need our supporters in the online space, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, so you want to get to 30 as quickly as possible, and then you make a post, you talk to those 30 people, more people are attracted to it because there's something going on, and you can actually just trust that process, and that'll work really well for you. But getting to 30 is a good milestone, you know? So maybe post twice as often until you have 30. If in 1 week, 30 different people have commented on your stuff, that's a really good place to get to. And then a lot of your marketing kind of becomes automatic if you just keep doing what we're talking about.
Right.
But if it's until there's 30, if it's only 5 of the same people commenting every day, what you really want to look for is, how do I get new people into the conversation? So you want to ask the questions differently. Just asking questions will put new people in the conversation because it's a simple question, you know?
Yeah.
So focus on that though. I'll leave you with this. Keep wanting to give more.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Okay, great.